Hey, good morning, Allison. Good to see you. Everybody's also tuned in to Facebook out there or on YouTube. I will be starting up here in just a minute. Well, good morning, everybody. Happy Monday to you, and welcome to PsychCandy for September 19th. Wow, I hope you guys had a really good weekend. Mine was busy, but it was good. It was pretty chill. Now we're just kind of kicking things off. I actually had a really interesting Energy Garden show that was a little bit of an impromptu last night, and kind of provoked me moving some articles around for the one I wanted to share today, which we talked about, or it came up anyway, about self-sabotaging. And that's kind of what we're going to focus on a little bit today. First off, let me just give a shout out again. Allison, really good to see you. I haven't seen you in a little bit. Deanna, Graciela, Amy, guys, welcome. Happy Monday to you. Everybody watching out in YouTube and Facebook land, welcome. When we think about self-sabotage, a lot of times it can be kind of muddy to really think of what that is, because it's not just simply... It's a process. It's a mental process sometimes that we get locked into. You know, the concept of self-sabotaging, well, it's really common. It's way more common than you might think. So we're going to go over some points here that might help kind of break it down and help us understand it better. So first off, what is it? Now, to explain self-sabotage, people often refer to this example, and I like this example. Number one, it explains in a little bit of a different way. Number two, I love chess. I play chess almost every day of my life because I just love it. I like the strategy of it. I like all those things. So understanding this from a psychology perspective was really interesting for me. But so let's dive in here. But so when people are explaining sometimes self-sabotage, they refer to the example of Deschapelle's coup. Now, Alex Deschapelle was a French chess player who established himself as like the main champion in his region. Now, however, as his competition grew stronger, he adopted a new strategy for all of his matches, and he would only play if his competition would remove one of Deschapelle's pawns and make the first move, right? So this increased Deschapelle's odds for losing. So if he would lose, he could just simply blame the loss on his disadvantage, and no one would ever truly know the true limits of his abilities. So in respect of this strategy, psychologists now use the term Deschapelle's coup to refer to an act of self-sabotaging. Now it's called a coup because it basically means you dethrone yourself while forcing you to live in this self-inflicted exile and pretty much made-up fantasy world in which you never reach your full potential. Many people can be so nervous about facing the realities and the consequences of real-life changes that they resort to playing games, and those mind games with yourself and with others. We change direction to avoid meeting people that we owe money to, for example, or we avoid supervision meetings if we missed a deadline. Social media, YouTube, all that stuff, that becomes our default at times when we're most stressed about our work or our life. And the common theme here is a resistance to confront reality as it is. So, just like Deschapelle, we tend to come up with excuses, rationalizations that we can point to in the occurrence of failure. However, just like Deschapelle, this tends to be a strategy to save face and not necessarily a strategy that creates success. So, what is it we do? Now, there tend to be several patterns of behavior that we engage in which can sabotage our potentials. And those would be procrastination, avoidance, overcommitting, never saying no, getting distracted, and of course, perfectionism. So let's dive into some of this. First, let's talk about procrastination. Now, there's many reasons for procrastinations, but in light of self-sabotage, procrastinations can be used as a built-in excuse for delivering lower qualities of work. Someone might procrastinate for a long time before getting started. And if that same person gets negative feedback on their work, they can blame it on the fact that they only started last minute, which is a great excuse. Another source of procrastination is a lack of current motivation. And often we hope that we will be more motivated tomorrow. And then, it just keeps cycling. Yeah, because there's always tomorrow, right? Oh, man, I don't really want to, I'm not going to do it today. I got a little bit of time tomorrow morning. I'm just gonna tackle it then, And that creates a very vicious cycle. Especially whenever you're dealing with things that you need to get back on track with, doing things that are going to be healthy for you. Getting your mind right, getting your body right, getting your life right. Now, I can tell you guys, if you're waiting for the motivation fairy to come along, bad news. Seems that the tooth fairy doesn't exist, and neither does the motivation fairy. And if you don't feel like it today, you're probably not going to feel like it tomorrow either. So it's important to realize that action often precedes motivation. So what could help is, pick a specific time to do a very small task. So for example, at 9 o'clock tomorrow, I will write 2 sentences of the paper's introduction or something, If you're trying to get your house organized and clean, well, tomorrow morning I'm going to pick one room, and I'm going to focus on that one room. And very often motivation to do more will follow, because when we start completing the smaller tasks, that's what's going to, you start freeing yourself up, you start feeling a little more liberated, you start getting your mind a little clearer because now you're debunking some of those boxes and crap that you've been packing in your brain and packing in your life. So just start small, but start, Then of course, avoidance. Sometimes the fear of rejection or failing will get us so spooked that we won't even try at all. If you are really avoidant, you want to ask yourself a few things. First, do I really want to do this? If you really don't want to do something, Find something else that makes you happy or something else that you can tolerate at the moment. If you actually do want to do it, but you're scared or intimidated by the task, just ask yourself, what's the first little thing that I can do? What is that first small step that I can take, And that's where you start. And this should be a very small task, like I said, printing a form out, Like, for example, when cyclists climb mountains, they don't look out. Looking at the top of the mountain while you're climbing it, it's probably one of the most demotivating things that you could do. Same goes for large projects. Breaking work down into smaller tasks makes the whole process a whole lot easier and a whole lot less daunting. And then we have the overcommitting. Because sometimes, we get in the, right, is that you sometimes? It's been me. I've overcommitted many times in my life, because we just want to get it done. We want to show everybody we know what we're doing, and we're just going to pack it on, and then what? Now you're overwhelmed. Now you just heightened your stress. Now you just heightened the negativity that you're carrying also within yourself sometimes, because you probably have taken off and bit off more than you can chew, Overcommitting and never saying no is another self-sabotage strategy. I mean, there's no better excuse for not doing your work than being just terribly busy, right? Many academics will find that they are terribly busy. However, at the end of the week, they realize they haven't really spent much time on maybe their main focuses or their jobs or, getting your master's or whatever you're working on, because you've overcommitted. You've overslammed yourself. The next thing is distractions. I'm guilty of this too. Many times I have to get distractions. But sometimes those distractions can be really bad, right? The studies show that when we get interrupted during a moment of focus, it takes an average of 5 minutes to get back to that same place you were before the interruption. Therefore, a great strategy would be to introduce 2 golden hours in your day in which you just focus on one task. And during these golden hours, remove all the distractions. You don't need your phone going. You don't need your TV going. You don't have to have music joining into TV. You don't have, that's what people do. Because you could, my God, to sit still for a minute and actually focus on one little thing, how horrible. But yeah, switch your phone off. Put on a big pair of headphones with some white noise. Make sure people around you know that you're busy. You're working. 2 hours without any distractions can equal 10 hours of fantasy time in which you pretend to multitask, but just really end up going from distraction to distraction. Think about that. Think about that. It is true that our brains, we could sit, man, Allison, I'm going to tell you, I can spend 10 hours in fantasy world just like quick as a snap, And we can. We can end up, and then what have we done? That can make us feel bad. We might realize at the end of that, man, we just wasted 10 hours. And we could have taken 2 hours and been really productive. And when you do that 2 hours of really productive, you're going to feel like you accomplished something. You're going to feel better. You're going to feel some liberation there. You're going to feel some lift. Now this one is one of the last points right here I'm going to talk about, but then we're going to go into one other direction for a minute. But this one's big, and it's perfectionism. Now, I'm all about doing a good job and wanting it to be done right. But we're never going to do every single task and every single job 100%, absolutely perfect all the time. It's not going to happen. Why? Because we're human. We are going to make mistakes. Sometimes we're going to have some hiccups. We're going to hit some bumps in the road. All of these things are going to happen, but that's okay because we're human. And if you always are aiming for perfectionism, and then you let that little bump or hiccup derail you, then you need to get a better grasp on the aspect of, I am human. I am going to make mistakes, and so is everybody else around me, and it's all good. Perfectionism is that final self-sabotaging strategy, okay? Learning to recognize when something is good enough is crucial. Not everything needs to be 100%. So make sure you prioritize which tasks you need ultimate perfectionism and which tasks do not. Sometimes it helps to give yourself a deadline on less important tasks. You state how much time you will allow yourself to work on that task, and after that, it just has to be good enough, you know. So to sum this part up here, think about what your strategies are for dealing with challenges. Are they strategies for success, or are they excuses to save face? You know, the misfortune with the Deschapelle coup is that although you may avoid the discomfort of facing up to the current challenges of life, you might never achieve your full potential. And do you know that to this day, nobody really knows how good Deschapelle was? Just as people will never know what they are truly capable of unless they try to avoid self-sabotaging strategies in the first place. The other ramp that I'm going to slide down for a second into is this. Now, this is something that came up in a topic in last night's room. And if you, for anybody that did not hear that, I encourage you to go back and give it a listen. It was the energy garden that I did last night at 7 o'clock. And I think it brings around some good points that you can actually use in this process of learning not to self-sabotage. But, you know, one thing that captures us is fear. And when you get embodied with fear can make you self-sabotage because you're not going to step up to challenges. You know, maybe you are dealing with social anxiety. Maybe it's just, you know, you're not good at speaking up, or you know, or you feel like you're bothering people all the time, or you're intruding, or you're, you know, all these things, so you just don't. But then you feel that can tamper with your own self-worth, your own self-value aspects. And that in itself, though, by not allowing yourself to try to press through some of these things, that also is self-sabotage. We have to focus on those areas that maybe we want to work on or do better with. Focus on the things that are making us maybe not have that uplifted value system that we want and that we need. And it's really important too in those moments that we build different strategies. We build a better course of action so that we're able to step through, step over, step into the challenges sometimes that we face, especially within our own mind. And the other aspect here is that you got to remember there's a lot of different trains trying to get to where they want to go in your brain. And your subconscious, that's the data store with all of your stuff in it. And it's trying to send trains sometimes to your brain to help keep you on track, because your brain is up there, you know, trying to look out, watch everything, be on guard, you know. And sometimes the head is so involved in trying to do that it's putting the stop signs up for all the things that the subconscious is trying to send to our conscious mind. And in turn, what that is it's the heart and the head trying to fight for control for a minute, especially when it comes to when you're dealing with really important things, you're dealing with something that's really emotional and all these things. And because maybe you've been hurt, or maybe you just had so many challenges or obstacles in your life or in your past, that the concept of, hey, relax and let's dive into this, is no way. I'm not going to do that. So therefore, we're shutting down sometimes what our subconscious is trying to say, and we can feel those moments, because that is sometimes that deep gut feeling that we have. It's sometimes that you know, intuition that we ignore sometimes. And when you ignore intuition, that's not helping your head do a good job at safeguarding you, because intuition is there for a reason, and your subconscious is pushing that there towards you for a reason, and it's for you to take notice about what you're about to do or say. You got to pause. You got to take a breath, think. Because listen, we are going to make mistakes. We are going to make some bad choices. We are going to learn things through life, right? But we want to make sure we're learning those things. We don't want to set. I don't know anybody really setting out and be like, "Hey, I'm going to, I'm going to reach new levels when it comes to self-sabotaging, buddy. I'm going to hold on to every negative, hurtful thing I can because that's just what I deserve." Do you know anybody like that? We want to aim higher. We want to not create our own. Thank you, guys. We want to not create our own mess. You know, it's kind of like, hey, things are moving along, hit a couple of bumps, but the road looks pretty clear up ahead, so let me grab this shovel, dig a hole, and pour some water and make a good old mud pit. And that's what we do. And I'll bring you one last little concept here. Is one thing about the self-sabotage is, while you are responsible for what you feel and think and do, but sometimes that self-sabotage can be fueled by the toxicity that you keep in your life. And that can be in the form of people. It can be in the form of your atmosphere. It can be in the form of all these things that you latch on to a toxicity. And that toxicity is definitely not going to help you navigate to that upper plane, to that better spot. That toxicity is going to keep you in place or push you deeper. That toxicity is like that mud pit I was talking about, and the toxic people in your world or those toxic environments is like a whole team of people going out there with shovels and making that hole even deeper and wider and bigger, and then good luck. And we tell ourselves, oh, but I'm still on track. I'm just going to have to swim across this thing now, Guys, you got to remember, you are the only one living your life. You're the only one with your past. You're the only one with whatever struggles you have. You're the only one with your passions and your goals and your dreams. You. Because it's your life, and we are all uniquely, creatively, differently. Thank God. But we have to make sure that we are aligning ourselves for elevation and not regression. We have to remember that the approach that we take in every single situation of your life determines the destination and outcome. Everything from what we eat, to how we wake up in the morning, to how we're going to start our day, to how we're going to tackle all the bills that we need to do, how we're going to do our job, how we're going to navigate with our friends, how we're going to deal with other people's drama sometimes that lurches up, how we're going to do all these things. It still comes back down to you having self-awareness, you having self-love, self-understanding, a structure that works for you, and nobody else gets to determine that for you, nor can they. In Saturday's show, Graciela and I, we were talking about unboxing your spirit, and one of the things we did share, because Graciela does life coaching and everything too, and one thing we shared was what's the first thing that we do with people. And we both had a very similar approach, and that first thing is making people see that you are here for a reason, and you have chosen to be here, and you are going to be the one that learns how to navigate what we're about to do. When people go to therapy, we're just helping you manage what's already in your head. We're going to help you sort out, maybe clean up some. We're going to do some inventory, throw things out that need to be thrown out, but help you gain that structure so that you can continue driving your bus and nobody else is doing that for you. And that's the thing. So just know that you are the captain of your own ship. You get to choose your destination. You get to choose what you're going to do. Guys, I hope you were able to pull something from this today. And I hope your Monday is going to be blessed, awesome, and lovely. And I encourage you, please be back here tomorrow, 11:30. I'm going to be continuing down this track. And tomorrow we are going to talk about how to preserve a positive and affirmative action for yourself by using positivity and affirmations and building your strength and learning some practices that can help you navigate much more peacefully and much more tranquilly. Well, guys, it's always so good to see you. Elizabeth, Allison, Stephanie, Graciela, Deanna, Shauna, Marwan, Amy, everybody watching on YouTube and Facebook, thank you so much for being here, for your support for these shows. I really do hope you guys get something from this, and I love being here and sharing with you. So until tomorrow, have a blessed rest of your Monday. Sending you all love and light. Thank you so much for that, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Cheers.